Something happened today to me that was pretty funny, and I'm going to tell you all about it. When you're a young guy, you want to show people that you're smart. And so whenever you find out any little tidbit or any little piece of wisdom, you go and blurt it out. You find out that, I don't know, I can't imagine what you find out. You find out something important to you that is very wise or deep or what have you, or you find out something about somebody else. You deduce something about somebody else. See, I had to deal with a guy today, and this guy was lying to me. He pretended to be something that I knew he clearly was not. He pretended that he had been a lawyer, and the way he phrased it, this was online, of course. The way he phrased it, I knew he was bullshitting. See, because as I mentioned before in some other podcast or some other vlog rather, I at one point was thinking about being a lawyer. And I thought very hard about being a lawyer. I came within inches of doing it. I'd already taken practice LSATs and I'd done very well. I could have, honestly, with my grades weren't that great, but my test scores were really good, and I knew I could get strong recommendations, and I would have gone to a very good law school. And so, but I decided to do other things with my life. That's neither here nor there. The point is, see, I know a little bit about the law, about being a lawyer, and I've had to hire a bunch of lawyers over the years. I've spent a lot of money on lawyers over the years. So I know how they talk. I know how they refer to different things, and I know enough about the law, more than what you would get from watching Law and Order or something like that, right? So this guy online, he tells me that he used to be a former lawyer, and he tells me some other stuff, and I know that he's lying. He's bullshitting me, I don't know what he's trying to come off as being of a higher level than he actually is. When I was young, when I was your age, for instance, I would have blurted that out. I would have pointed. I would have said, hey, you're a fucking idiot. You don't know anything. You're fucking lying. That's what I would have said. And I would have gone out of my way to point out that somebody is lying. See? Now, why? Why is this the case? Well, very simple. Because see, when you're young, you don't have much going for you, right? And you're constantly trying to establish your not just your bona fides, you're constantly trying to establish that you have worth, that you yourself have intrinsic worth. In that blog post I said, why do young guys do stupid shit? Link below. I talked about how, young guys do take physically reckless risks. They do it just to show that they're better, so that they get attention from girls, so that they wind up getting laid with some of these girls, right? Now, insofar as blurting out things that you deduce or figure out, young guys do it because they're the same impulse. They're trying to differentiate themselves from the pack. They're trying to show that they are better. Now, how many times have you figured out something and just pointed it out and pointed it, right? And you have to ask yourself, and this is the difference between being a boy and being a man, being childish and being mature. What benefit did you get from pointing out something that you had discovered about somebody else? See, in this case that I have here with this guy who's pretending to be a lawyer, he's pretending to be something that he's clearly not. Okay, he's pretending to be, an older man with gravitas and weight, and he's just kind of ridiculous. But that's neither here nor there. My point is, see, what benefit would I get by pointing this out to him? None. I'd antagonize him. Why would I antagonize him when I can use him? Allow him to think that I'm fooled and duped by his bullshit, and just let it slide. Why not? What advantage would I get by standing up in a big high horse and pointing down and saying, "You, sir, are lying to me"? What would be my benefit? It wouldn't be to my benefit at all. On the contrary, I'd create an enemy. See, when you point out that somebody is not what they pretend to be, you have to keep in mind that you are undercutting their notion of who they think that they are. This fool that I swapped some messages with, right? This fool thinks that he's fooling me. I'll let him. Why not? Because if I point out that he is not what he claims to be, see, in his own mind, he has convinced himself of this lie. And it's, in a very real sense, a part of who he is. If I undercut him and say, you are not that thing, it's like I took a knife and just flicked it at him to see if I would cut him up. It's going to hurt him. Now, of course, see, if he were to actually have been a lawyer, and I claim, oh, well, you're not a lawyer, what would his reaction be? He'd be like, well, I am a lawyer. Because the thing, what happens, of course, is that, see, when you truly are something and somebody disbelieves you, you sort of ignore it. It's like saying, when some fool says that the sky is green, you're like, no, it's blue. No, it's green, they say. And what do you say? You don't say anything. You ignore them. You just walk on by. You see? Because, the sky is blue. It's not green. Yeah? If you are something and somebody claims that you're not, then, you just ignore them. Because they're not important. But if you are not that thing, and somebody comes and points it out, you get angry. You get defensive. You feel like you've been found out. As if you'd been guilty of a crime. When you are guilty of a crime. You're guilty, well, technically speaking, I suppose, of the crime of fraud. You're pretending to be somebody that you're not. But you see, my point is, pointing out somebody's lies, in my case, for instance, serves no purpose. Sometimes pointing out someone's mistakes serves no purpose. For example, suppose, for the sake of argument, that a good friend of yours, John, good friends, you've been good friends with him all your life, he marries the wrong fucking woman. He just marries the wrong fucking woman. And he's married, and he's got a kid, and she's an awful person. You don't have any proof that she's an awful person. You haven't caught her in flagranti delicto with fucking some other guy or something like that. But you know that she's an awful person. I mean, you sense it. Okay, so what exactly is the advantage of pointing it out to John? Saying to John, hey, John, you really married the wrong woman. What advantage is there to be gained? Huh? You feel better about yourself? Oh, I know this and he doesn't, so I'm going to show him. That's immature. That's childish. See? Children, when they are small, I remember when I was older than I care to admit, when I was around 7 years old, 8 years old, oh God, this is embarrassing. Well. When I was 8 years old, I remember very clearly in the stairwell in my school, some kid said, Santa Claus doesn't exist. And I remember arguing back, he does too exist. I screamed at the guy, he does too exist, he's real, You see, when we secretly know something or secretly realize that we've made a mistake, we get very, very defensive. See, children point out when other children are believing in something that is not true or saying something that is not true. Santa Claus myth, for instance. Children do it all the time. Now, an adult, a man, he keeps his fucking mouth shut, which is what you should do. You see, when somebody else is making a big mistake, sometimes a huge mistake, you don't point it out to them, especially if they're your opponent or they are competing with you somehow. If your opponent is making a big mistake, you shut the fuck up. What advantage are you going to gain by pointing out the mistake that the guy is making, the guy who is competing with you for whatever? Yeah? Say that you're running the 100-yard dash, right? And the guy just doesn't know how to square up on the starting blocks. You don't fucking correct him. You let him make his mistakes so that you can win. Okay? Now, of course, there are some people that you do speak up for and say, no, you're making a mistake. With John, you tell him before he gets married to the skank, right? You tell to Joe, who's going to take a job that is going to make his life miserable because you know Joe or whatever, and you go in and you say, hey, buddy, my man, my brother, don't take this job because it's not going to suit you because of this, and that reason. I know you, I'm your friend, and I love you, and I want your happiness. There, yes. At that moment, those moments when you are trying to help someone you love, someone important to you, yeah, then you stand up and you point out the mistake. And of course they're going to argue with you because nobody likes being, shown up to be making a mistake. But, if he's a true friend, he'll understand and he'll love you more for it, you see? And my point, see? You shut up with people who don't matter to you or your opponents. You shut up. Let them make their mistake. Let them think that they have fooled you. Let them think that they are better than you. Let them. Allow them to go through life with this misconception that you're not as clever and that they're more clever than you. Because you see, what happens is that when people think that they are more clever than you, they make mistakes. Mistakes that you can take advantage of. The flip side, of course, is that the people who are close to you, your good friends, the people you love, your children, your spouse, well, there, in those cases, you speak up, even at the risk of their wrath. Because remember, when you point out something that is false, nobody ever gets upset. Nobody ever gets upset when you say something that is demonstrably false. People only ever get upset when you speak the truth. You see? So always remember that. Let your enemies, your opponents, the people who are in your way, let them think whatever they want to think. You know, they're going to think it anyway. Don't show off that you know. Use it to your advantage. A very long way of saying, shut the fuck up. And let the other people fall into the hole that they have dug for themselves.